right, so here we go. Good evening and welcome everyone to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for May 26th, 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence in recognition of Memorial Day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I realize as I've been getting ready for these meetings, I haven't been wearing my town pin, so I want to make sure I did that, especially as we are, oh, and I forgot to stay standing for the moment of silence. That's exactly what I wanted everybody to do, but I wanted to just let everybody know that this year we were unable to gather together as we usually do to recognize the members of our community who have given everything in service to our country. I would like to take a moment now to remember the servicemen and women we have lost in battle, and also in their return home, including those who have waged wars against PTSD, chronic illnesses, and yes, even COVID. Memorial Day is always a meaningful time to pause and remember the bravest among us, and perhaps even more so during this incredibly difficult time. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Really was bittersweet not being able to be there together with everybody this weekend. So we thank our legions and our central committee of organized veterans for having held ceremonies with smaller groups and for placing wreaths on behalf of the town. I guess we are going to start with our roll call. Do we have? Yes, we do.
Okay, so Councilmember Feldman?
Present.
Councilmember Shaw?
Present.
Councilmember Meyer?
Present.
Councilmember Wiltshire?
Present.
And Supervisor Levenberg?
Here I am. Okay, just make sure that I am in the right place at the right time. I think we're going to announcements next. It's very hard for me to manage all these things without my written content. Is that correct? Announcements are next. Okay, so this weekend we heard from Governor Cuomo that the Mid-Hudson region, including Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Sullivan, Ulster, and Orange counties, have met the criteria for phase 1 reopening as of today, Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. This means that only phase 1 businesses, specifically those in the construction, agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting, contactless retail, manufacturing, and wholesale trade industries are eligible to reopen. Businesses in these industries that are seeking to reopen must first develop a written business safety plan, which hopefully they've been working on, and must read and affirm industry-specific guidelines. The business safety plan must be conspicuously posted at the business's premises and available upon inspection by the New York State Department of Health or local safety and health authorities. Template safety plans and guidelines are available on the New York Forward website at forward.ny.gov. But you can't just print out the templates and reopen. There are specific questions that each business owner must consider carefully and answer regarding practices that they will put in place when open to protect employees, visitors, and customers from exposure to COVID-19, and make sure that we do not exacerbate the spread by not paying attention to these very important protocols. Please do not mistake this phase 1 reopening as the floodgates opening for all businesses and everything goes back to normal. Businesses not included within the specific industries listed for phase 1 are not yet eligible for reopening, and that's plenty. There are plenty of businesses. As part of New York Forward, Governor Cuomo has indicated that there will be at least 2 weeks between phases to sufficiently evaluate how the phased reopening will impact the number of cases in each region. So then if they start seeing numbers spiking in any of the regions, then we're going to have to go backwards. Phase 2 will bring us professional services, more retail, administrative support, hair salons, woohoo, we can finally get those haircuts we've all been waiting for, and real estate / rental and leasing. Phase 3 will include restaurants and food service. And finally, phase 4 will bring back the arts, entertainment, recreation, and of course, importantly, education. So if you fit into any of these categories, you're not eligible for reopening if you're in any of the 2, 3, and 4 categories. The virus has not gone away. Instead, our social distancing efforts have gone a long way to flattening the curve, and we now have a sufficient handle on the infrastructure necessary, including the number of hospital beds, ICU beds, and a robust contact tracing effort to better control positive cases of COVID-19. So for the rest of us that are not in construction, agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting, curbside retail, manufacturing, or wholesale trade industries, all existing restrictions of New York Pause remain in effect. Other non-essential businesses remain closed. Non-essential employees shall continue to work remotely, and we must remain vigilant in our efforts to socially distance and wear masks when out in public. Of course, we did just find out that the courts are permitted to bring full staff back in to work behind the scenes, but no, not open to the public yet. So stay tuned for more information about our courts. If you do have any questions regarding this news that you cannot find on the New York Forward website, please feel free to reach out to my office at 914-762-6001. If you have questions that are specific to construction in the unincorporated town of Ossining, you should reach our building department at 914-762-8419 or their respective building departments in the villages of Ossining or Briarcliff. We also continue to have available some cloth face masks for distribution to local businesses, but please get them while we still have them. You can submit your request and schedule a time slot for contactless pickup by calling Karina Scorsia in my office at 762-6002. We have now been told we can distribute some of these cloth masks to members of the public, which we will be doing via the weekly Feeding Westchester food distributions. Our stock remains limited, so we're still unable to distribute outside of these categories, but we have some resources on our website to help you make your own masks, and we have introduced hashtag Mask Mondays. Please share your selfies with your handmade creations via Instagram or Facebook. We would love to see them. As we begin this transition to our new normal, we have to reevaluate many of the public events and gatherings we have all come to enjoy so much. We have discussed at the past few work sessions plans to reimagine the Independence Day fireworks and summer concert series at Lewis Engel Park through the lens of social distancing. I'm sorry to announce tonight that we will be canceling our Independence Day fireworks celebration. That was scary. Given what we know about New York Forward, I think that that's fireworks happening now in response to my comment. Given what we know now about New York Forward, it's highly unlikely that we'll be able to safely gather for our fireworks display this July. We are also following suit with our Westchester County colleagues who recently announced that they would be canceling both county-sponsored Independence Day celebrations. That being said, we are happy to share that we have been working closely with our friends at the Greater Ossining Chamber of Commerce, Mike and Miriam Risco of Mike Risco Music and Sing Sing Kill Brewery to schedule at least 4 virtual concerts on Fridays in July. There is still a bit of coordinating to do, but we hope to feature some local musicians and find ways to support local business owners at the same time by encouraging audience members to grab some local takeout while they enjoy a show on Friday nights. We'll be sharing more details in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. We also are looking at our parks and public spaces and are reminded that everyone needs to continue to respect those areas that are still closed, such as our playground equipment, where we hear people continue to tear down the caution tape, which we put up weekly to remind people that these areas are closed. Why are they closed? Because we don't believe that we have protocols in place that are where we're able to keep them safe. So please respect the areas that are closed. And I wanted to let everyone know of something that I had shared in my update on Friday, and that is that New York State, at the request of our state assemblywoman and State Senator Pete Harcum, as well as some of the local officials that border the area, the unique area has been closed for the season. As sad as it is for us to have to close public spaces, especially those that offer a reprieve from the heat, over the last several years, as community groups work in partnership with multiple bordering municipalities, we know that the state forest property along the Croton River has become completely overcrowded and very difficult to control. Many of us who have worked at putting appropriate restrictions in place to protect the area while making it a safe place for the public to enjoy, were very concerned now more than ever that this area would have been a breeding ground for spread with the increased popularity it has seen. So we're very grateful that the governor's office responded and decided to close this area for the season. We hope that with other efforts in place, next year it will be up and running again with an active stewardship program in place. Meanwhile, please help share with others that it is closed through Labor Day 2020. The school district budget and Board of Education elections for both the Ossining and Briarcliff school districts will be conducted entirely via absentee ballot this year. All qualified voters within the Ossining and Briarcliff school districts will be receiving a ballot directly via mail, probably this week. No need to apply this time for that ballot. You will get the ballot versus an application for the ballot. You must complete your ballot. It must be received in the mail by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 9th. No in-person voting or voter registration will be allowed. Please remember that if you live in the Ossining school district, you will also be asked to vote on the Ossining public library budget and trustee elections for library and school district as well. Both school districts and the Ossining Library have additional information regarding their proposed budgets and board candidates on their websites. If you have any questions, you can reach the Ossining School District Clerk at iortiz@ossininufsd.org and the Briarcliff School District Clerk by calling 914-432-8130. Finally, of course, it would not be my announcements if I were not to mention the census. Yes, it's true. We still have a long way to go to get to 100%. And we need everybody to make sure that they do their part to make sure their neighbors and friends are all counted. That way, we have a much better chance of getting the funding that we deserve based on the number of people that live here. Memorial Day reminds us that the data from the census helps support veteran and military programs, shaping the future of this important community in our country. And of course, it also helps our schools. So please fill out your census today at 2020census.gov. The simple questionnaire will go a long way to help our entire community. Do any of my board colleagues have other announcements? We'll see. I'm not seeing any hands. Yeah, if you want to just wave your hand if you do have anything, and seeing and hearing none, we will continue on with our departmental report. This evening, we are very pleased to be hosting one of our favorite departments. Okay, don't get jealous of their departments. We love you also. Our Ossining Police Department. And we're joined by Police Chief Kevin Sylvester for a report from him. Chief, you and your amazing team have been working tirelessly day in and day out during this crisis to ensure that our community remains safe. So we thank you so much for all that you and your department have been doing, and thank you, of course, also for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the council. Ordinarily, when I come, I like to give an update on all of the different things happening around the police department, obviously with coronavirus and all that comes with that. It's a sort of unique time. Our operational tempo has been changed over the past 2 months or so. We've had reduced staffing. Numbers in the town remain the same. Our minimum staffing each day is the same, but we've reduced the number of people that are coming into work much the same as other offices have in order to prevent the spread of the disease, which has worked out to our advantage in that we've had nobody that's tested positive within the department. So that's a big deal for us. It's helped us to keep our staffing levels up sufficient that we don't go into crisis mode. Some different things we've been working on while this is going on: birthday parades. A good deal of our time has been taken up with going house to house, celebrating people's birthday, which is just what every cop signs up for. just to be aware, we're doing as many of those as possible. We get an overwhelming number of requests, and we're trying to hit as many as we can. For those that we can, we do. For those that we can't, we always let people know it's impossible for us to predict what call volume is going to be tomorrow. So working together with OVAC, we've hit as many of those as we can. As you'd mentioned, the unique area has been closed down, and we're thankful for the partnership we get with New York State and Westchester County this year to sort of take the pressure off of us during this time, because while we're trying to keep the parks closed, that certainly presented a challenge. In terms of our parks, our officers continue to patrol those. There's a lot of questions about how we're handling social distancing and all of the regulations in the park. The reality is that our strategy is discretion. Our staff has been charged with going out and speaking to people and explaining and influencing and doing the best we can to get people to comply rather than have to write summonses. I'm not aware of any agency in Westchester County so far that's actually written tickets for violations of social distancing rules in association with the executive orders. But I can tell you that we certainly stop a number of people each day for everything from being without masks when too close to playing in the park, some places they're not supposed to be. It's challenging, but it's certainly something that we continue to do, and it's a worthy cause. June 1st, we are going to be returning our full staff to work, as our staff is all essential, but without cars on the road, there wasn't as much use for park enforcement as some of those other folks, so some of them have been assigned to home for a while. On June 1st, our full staff will be coming back, at which point you'll start to see more of our bike patrols and our foot posts and traffic posts and park enforcement and all of those kind of things coming back. So long before everybody else, I think, gets back to full speed, we're looking for a return to normalcy to be prepared for more people on the road. With that in mind, one of the things that we're going to be doing is increased traffic enforcement. We're going to be talking about that across all of our social media channels over the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks. Quite a few people while driving have figured out that with less cars on the road, or have decided with less cars on the road, they think that that means the open road belongs to them. And we've certainly seen an increase in speeding. So we're going to be sending a strong message to those folks to make sure that everybody understands. Obviously, our main goal is voluntary compliance. Where that does not work, enforcement comes in. But certainly we need to slow things down before everybody gets back on the road and things get back to normal, because we want to prevent accidents. Our department has continued with training. We've already completed for this year. Right before this happened, we had finished with all of our first aid and infectious disease control. And last week we finished our first half firearms qualification. A couple of weeks back, you may have seen that we assisted with the Ossining School District Teacher Parade. And we're excited to be helping with graduation and a senior parade. So June 8, 9, and 10, if you live around Ossining High School, expect some traffic there. They have a whole program for graduation where they're going to do in-person graduation staged out over 3 days. And that is much more a conversation for Dr. Sanchez and information for him to share. I don't want to steal his thunder on that, but you can expect some traffic on those days. We'll be there assisting with that. And also we have planned for June 19th around the town and village to have a senior parade, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. We're still in planning phases for that. We want to make sure that's as safe as possible with a bunch of seniors driving their cars, but we intend to help and make that happen, because we certainly are understanding and empathetic that the senior class of 2020 is not getting their due from everybody else. So we're looking forward to that, and hopefully with next quarter we're going to have a little bit more action and some more normalcy back here. So I look forward to we're not going to have our regular summer calendar this year, but we are working with the school district to try and find as many ways to connect with kids as possible. So we've got some plans in the work, but nothing solidified yet. I don't think block parties are going to be back for quite some time, but we're looking forward to finding a way to still connect with people and make those connections. You're muted.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much, because we know that it's a troubling time right now. I think we actually put up, I think the signs are up now on North State Road for the new lowered speed limit. I didn't give you a heads up, so I don't expect you to actually know any numbers, but I'm just wondering if that's going to be an interesting place to enforce speeding restrictions or, speeding, period.
Yeah, so our plan for a lot of that. Sure. So for North State Road, where the speed changed, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of enforcement just yet as we roll into that, because we're still working on our officers on how we're going to be interacting with people on traffic stops. Certainly we're still doing traffic stops. I think I do 5 a week myself. one of the things that we do when we have a change in traffic ordinances is that we'll go out and we'll make traffic stops, and the first few days or few weeks are a whole lot of warnings. The reality is that most people won't notice those signs when they're driving past, and the goal here is not to harm people, but again, it's voluntary compliance, and we want people to be driving under the speed limit. So we're going to do a lot of talking about that once we start a formalized program to introduce people to that. There'll be a bunch of warnings, and then there'll be a loud, clear message that the warnings are up and the tickets are going to start getting issued. So, not a terribly difficult task, but, one that we're going to wait to be able to make a little bit more of a formal announcement about once we've set everybody free for traffic enforcement. That's my
Great.
connection.
And then my other two questions are just that we've been getting most of the complaints we get are quality of life issues. May 30th, our gas leaf blower ban goes into effect. And I know we've been getting a lot of calls about, noise and leaf blowers and gas leaf blowers. We're going to try to do our best just to let some of the local shops that service these machines remind their businesses. So just wanted to, I assume you're getting complaints about that as well. Just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that this week that goes into effect.
Yeah, so generally what we'll do is on the day that goes into effect, we'll do a public message that day and say this is your last day. Staff gets updates on ordinances daily and weekly through our briefings and roll call. I don't know how many homeowners really, to be honest, get their leaf blowers serviced, but it's definitely a good way to connect with the landscapers.
That's what I meant, the landscapers, yeah.
Like I said, like everything else, we drive around looking for it in the first few days when it's the new changeover, because a lot of people won't be willfully violating. It's just a lot of people may not realize that's the date. And there's definitely some confusion between the town and village where those two differ sometimes. No problem. We're on it. We haven't heard many complaints about that yet. Most of the noise complaints we've gotten the last couple of weeks have been loud music and people out in their yard, and we're helping neighbors to get along with one another. But so far, so good.
And then another complaint that flashed by me, but it was a village complaint, but I'm just wondering again, if you're seeing more of these, was somebody who complains to the county about a local restaurant being open, or is that anything that you've been hearing about or going around giving warnings if businesses aren't complying as we're in phase 1 now? I assume most of that is going to be for our building department to contend with, but I think you're probably certainly allowed to go in and talk to businesses if they're not complying with certain protocols.
We're certainly checking on these things regularly. A lot of complaints that we're getting are people who drive by or pass by and see something that's momentary. A lot of the complaints of social gathering that we respond to tend to be families where people may not realize that people are from the same household, and we're not really necessarily separating those folks if they're family and they're out in public. With the restaurants, I know that our staff was asked over the last couple of days to go down and check on the boathouse, or rather that one came in today, so they're down checking tonight. In general, we're really not finding a lot of the complaints that are coming in. With the restaurants, a lot of them are people that are waiting to pick up food and they just end up with a line outside, and people by human nature crowd because lines make people anxious, and that's a lot of what we see. So we're not seeing a whole lot of people that are willfully violating laws. We're seeing human nature at play, and people that are just being themselves and doing the things that they do every day. And if you're waiting for your food outside a place like the Boathouse, where the patio and then the parking lot, people tend to move in away from the cars, and eventually conversations start with friends they haven't seen in a while, and that's how it goes. It really hasn't. Most people that we've interacted with have been quite cooperative.
Sure. Awesome. So I just want to ask any of my board colleagues if anybody has any questions for the chief. Hearing and seeing none, although I will say that some of you are frozen, maybe all of you are frozen. If you do have anything to say, could you actually raise your hand just so I know? Or isn't everybody? Everybody's frozen. Okay, I don't know why. But okay, You can all hear me. So thank you so much, Chief. I think that we're great. Once again, please give a big shout out from our town board to your entire staff. We are so appreciative of everybody and everything that everybody's doing, and just being there around the clock for our community at this time, doing whatever you can to make it a more positive experience, which is what you're so good at. And, you know, just watching, having our backs every day. We're very appreciative.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Okay, so, and that is it. Anybody have any questions that I just missed? Because everybody was frozen for a minute and now they're not.
No question, just a thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. It's very nice to hear that none of the officers have come down with it. That's great to hear.
Yes, testament to you. Thanks, Chief. All right, well, with that, thank you again, Chief, and we are going to move into liaison reports. Are there any from my colleagues? No. Okay. If for whatever reason I don't see that you want to speak, and do you guys all see if you click on participants and then you can raise your hand? If you want to just do that in a little sidebar, just do that in case, or just wave like that, just in case we don't catch you soon enough. So now I would ask if there is any comment from the public on any of the agenda items only. And hearing none, we will move into the rest of our resolutions. Our Deputy Clerk, Martha Kudisaka, please.
Okay.
Turn it over to you.
Approval of minutes, regular meeting, May 12th, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the April 28th, 2020 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. I'm sorry, that should say May 12th. My apologies.
May 12th. Okay, so do I have a motion?
So
So move.
Okay, and is there a second? Trying to
Second.
screen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated May 26, 2020 in the amount of $357,830.95.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
The truck had to get paid for now, huh?
Yes, but we borrowed for that, so.
I know.
I mean, not that it's great, but yes, we've been waiting a year and a half, and finally, of course, the truck came in now. But yes, the good news is that we had plans for that well in advance, so that's the only good news. I mean, and the good news is that we'll be well positioned for excellent plowing and making brine and using it and spreading it in the winter. It's hard to imagine right now, but it will serve us well, and our trucks have a useful life, and they have exceeded it. And when they do, unfortunately, we have to keep up with that. Otherwise, we're not in a position to make sure that our town roads are safe. So we want to make sure we can do that. Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Contract with seamlessdocs.com to provide services to the clerk's office. Resolved that upon review by the council to the town, the supervisors authorized to sign the May 8th, 2020 proposal with seamlessdocs.com, 30 Vandam Street, New York, 113, for seamlessdocs.com to provide software and services to the clerk's office, which also serves as the Village of Austin's clerks per an intermunicipal agreement for a 3-year subscription commencing on or about June 1st, 2020, for $11,595 year 1, $10,000 year 2, and $10,000 year 3, with the cost to be shared equally between the town of Austin and the Village of Austin.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So from time to time, thank you, got it. So from time to time, our clerk will, I'm sorry, I'm actually on the wrong resolution. A few weeks back, our town clerk, Sue Donnelly, presented to the town board a proposal to engage Seamless Docs to allow for remote services through our clerk's office. After a thorough review, thanks to Council Tomadonna, we are ready to sign this contract and begin the process of bringing many more services online. I know that our clerk, Suzanne Donnelly, had made this one of her goals was to make her office more efficient, and couldn't have come at a better time. Obviously, we need to do as much as we can online to reduce the amount of time we have to actually have in-person contact with people at this time. So this worked out very well, that it just kind of worked right into her goals. So we're excited that we've gotten the contract to a good place, and that the village is also anxious to do this at the same time so that we can reduce our expenses overall to both town and village. And that's good for all our taxpayers. So in other words, if we had to just do this on our own, we would have had to pay the full $11,000, but by sharing it with the village, we can actually reduce the cost by half. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Tax payment plan.
And was there any extensions?
Tax
Okay.
payment.
Okay, thanks.
No. Okay. Tax payment plan 159-161 Croton Avenue. Whereas the town of Austin is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality, with the onus on the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 159 through 161 Croton Avenue, tax parcel designation ID number 89.16-3-85.1, and whereas the town board pursuant to Article 5 of the Austin Town Code is authorized by Section 1184 of the New York real property tax law, before entry of a final judgment, may withdraw a parcel for which payment of a real property taxes is delinquent from a foreclosure proceeding, and enter into an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes, as well as interest and penalties, and does occasionally grant such a plan, and has the discretion to accept or reject any proposal by a residential property owner, providing the owner meets the eligibility requirements set forth in Section 180-17 of the Town Code, and the payment plan conforms to the requirements for such a repayment plan as set forth in Section 180-1-18 of the Town Code. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So from time to time, our tax receiver will receive a request from a property owner to enter into a payment plan for uncollected taxes. Recently, we received requests from the property owners at 159-161 Croton Avenue and 14 Fuller Road. Both property owners qualify under the current local and state regulations governing payment plans, so we will be voting on both requests tonight. Is there any discussion on the first one of these payment plans? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Tax payment plan 14 Fuller Road, whereas the town of Austin is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality, with the onus on the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 14 Fuller Road, tax parcel designation ID number 97.11-2-25, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome, thank you.
Amending payment plan for delinquent taxes for 108 Croton Avenue, whereas due to the COVID-19 epidemic and the related restrictions on business operations, many taxpayers are suffering financial hardships due to loss of employment and or other income. And whereas as a result of the federal and New York State governments have extended the deadline for filing income tax returns, and if applicable, paying the outstanding amount owed until July 15, 2020, and the New York State and Westchester County governments have eliminated or substantially reduced the penalties on late payment of town and county real property taxes for payments received by July 15, 2020, and whereas pursuant to Real Property Tax Law Statute 1184 and Town Code Chapter 180, Article 5, the town is authorized to enter into agreements or payment plans with payers delinquent on the real property taxes and requires monthly payments in order to satisfy the outstanding real property tax obligation. And whereas the town board previously authorized the town receiver of taxes to enter into a payment plan with the owner of 108 Croton Avenue, Austin, New York, of the property for the payment of delinquent real property taxes. And whereas the property owner contacted the town receiver of taxes and advised that they are suffering financial hardship due to COVID-19 pandemic and requested a modification of the payment plan to delay the deadline of payments to be made under the plan. And whereas while the town does not generally entertain modifications to payment plans, it is not obligated. Hold on, give me 1 second. Whereas while the town does not generally entertain modifications to payment plans, it is not obligated to do so under law due to the extraordinary and unforeseen circumstances surrounding the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the fact that action has been taken at the federal, state, and county levels to eliminate or substantially reduce the burden on taxpayers to pay income and real property taxes until July 15, 2020, the town board believes it is appropriate and warranted in this situation to provide the property owner with relief in line with that provided at the higher levels of government, and now therefore be it resolved upon the owner of 108 Croton Avenue submitting a signed hardship certification in the form provided by the town based upon the criteria established by the Westchester County Executive. The town board hereby authorizes the tax receiver of taxes to enter into an amendment agreement for a payment plan for the delinquent real property taxes for 108 Croton Avenue, which agreement shall make the deadline for the next payment July 15, 2020, and subsequent payments shall be made on or before the 15th of every month thereafter until the outstanding obligation has been satisfied. And be it further resolved, the town board is authorizing this action based upon the extraordinary and unforeseen circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic and the actions taken at the federal, state, and county level to alleviate tax burdens on taxpayers until July 15, 2020. And this authorization shall not establish a precedent for this property owner or any other property owners going forward in seeking relief from the delinquent tax payment plan obligations or general tax obligations. And be it further resolved, in authorizing this action, the town board does not waive any rights or remedies available to it under the original payment plan, state law, or local law, and hereby expressly reserves the right to take any action or utilize any remedies and enforcement mechanisms available to the town under the law at any time in the future.
Loud noise in the
Good
back. I put it on mute. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. So recently, due to the undue hardships that many property owners are currently facing due to COVID, we have received a few requests from property owners with existing payment plans to allow for an extension of payment until July 15th, in line with the extensions in state and federal income tax filing deadlines and hardship extensions for payment of town county taxes that were due April 2020. We've decided to follow suit and authorize amended payment plans to the property owners at 108 Croton Avenue and 34 Eastern Avenue, suspending payments until July 15th due to hardships, as long as they prove that there is one, that those individuals are currently facing. So I'm going to ask if everybody's in favor and, just take a vote. But then I just want to have one comment before you launch into the next one, Martha, okay? So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Council Tomadonna. Since this is a very long resolution, is it possible that we can amend the reading of the second version of the second one for the next property, because we don't have to actually hear the entire thing? It's exactly the same except for the property address, basically. I know by the time you figured it out, we probably could have just read the whole thing, but.
I think it's fine if you want to just read the title.
And then resolved, or the.
And then the resolved clauses.
Okay. So our deputy clerk, Martha, could you see that? Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, though, we're amending the resolution that's being read. The actual resolution that the board is going to be adopting is what's written on the agenda and is available on the clerk's office and on the website.
Exactly. Thank you.
Amending payment plan for delinquent taxes for 34 Eastern Avenue. Be it resolved upon the owner of 34 Eastern Avenue submitting a signed hardship certification in the form provided by the town based upon the criteria established by the Westchester County Executive. The town board hereby authorizes the town receiver of taxes to enter into an amended agreement for a payment plan for the delinquent real property taxes for 34 Eastern Avenue, which agreement shall make the deadline for the next payment July 15, 2020, and subsequent payments shall be made on or before the 15th of every month, thereafter until the outstanding obligation has been satisfied. And be it further resolved, the town board is authorized the action based upon the extraordinary and unforeseen circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic and the actions taken at the federal, state, and county level to alleviate tax burdens on taxpayers until July 15, 2020. And this authorization shall not establish a precedent for this property owner or any other property owners going forward in seeking relief from the delinquent tax payment plans obligations or general tax obligations. And be it further resolved, in authorizing this action, the town board does not waive any rights or remedies available to it under the original payment plan, state law, or local law, and hereby expressly reserves the right to take any action and utilize any remedies and enforcement mechanism available to the town under the law at any time in the future.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, anybody abstain? Okay, thank you.
And then extension of approval for provisional 2020 cabaret license, Maya Riviera Bar and Restaurant, 518 North State Road, Barcliffe Manor. Whereas Maya Riviera Bar and Restaurant, the applicant, filed an application for a cabaret license for the calendar year 2020, requesting extended hours during which the applicant can play amplified music on Sundays through Thursdays from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And whereas by resolution adopted March 10, 2020, the town board, under its authority pursuant to Chapter 60 of the Town Code, Section 68-20B, to extend hours a cabaret may play amplified music beyond what is permitted in the code where it deems it appropriate and consistent with the public safety and welfare, granted the applicant a provisional cabaret license with the requested extended hours for 3 months and direct a public hearing be held on May 26, 2020 to give the town board an opportunity to evaluate whether there were any adverse impacts from the extended hours before determining whether to grant the cabaret license with the extended hours for the entirety of the 2020 calendar year. And whereas less than 1 week later, Governor Cuomo issued Executive Order 202.3 related to the continuing COVID-19 pandemic, directing that all restaurants and bars cease on-premise operations effective at 8 p.m. on March 16, 2020. And whereas, as the purpose of the provisional license and the scheduling of the May 26, 2020 public hearing was to assess the applicant's operations with the extended hours, and due to Executive Order 202.3, the applicant has been closed to on-premise operations, including playing amplified music from the vast majority of the 3-month period, the board finds that it would not be productive to hold a public hearing or make a final determination on whether to allow the extended hours the entirety of 2020 at this time. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Austin hereby extends until August 25th, 2020, the provisional license subject to all of the terms and conditions set forth in the March 10th, 2020 resolution. And be it further resolved, the town board will hold a public hearing at its August 11th, 2020 meeting to assess whether to approve this license in its current form for the entirety of 2020 or make changes to hours and applicants is authorized to play amplified music on Sundays through Thursdays if the town board deems it appropriate based upon the information received at the public hearing, and be it as appropriate under the circumstances based upon the applicant's ability to operate in the interim.
Do I have a motion? Thank you.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay, wonderful. So if you can remember any time before quarantine, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point, we had approved a provisional cabaret license at our March 10th meeting for Maya Riviera for a period of 90 days to evaluate the impact of their request for extended hours of operation. Given that Maya Riviera has been unable to operate for just about the entire 90-day period, we will be extending this provisional approval until August. We may have to extend it again if they still haven't had any opportunity to operate, to allow for sufficient review. Council Donna, do you want to elaborate at all on this, or do you think we had covered it all?
I think the resolution pretty much laid it all out. The board has done this in the past, and specifically with this applicant, As the resolution stated, the code does give the town board authority to extend the hours where amplified music can be played when appropriate. The town board did grant it to this specific applicant for Fridays and Saturdays in the past, and did it on the same concept of a provisional license so that they could revisit it. There weren't any issues in that instance. And there haven't really been any issues with this applicant as far as we can tell from the building department and the police department, which are notified and respond when cabaret license applications come in. So the board did grant it provisionally, but obviously, given that they haven't been able to operate, there's no way for this board to really assess what impacts, if any, there would be from having the amplified music during the extended hours on the other days of the week. So it just makes sense from a practical perspective.
All right. Any discussion? Did I already have a motion in a second? Yes, I think so. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Next up, there's correspondence to be received and filed. We have none. So monthly reports.
Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly report for the month of April 2020, Dale Cemetery and Town Supervisor.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. So off to visitor recognition. Is there anybody in here who would like to comment on anything at all? We have your regular 4 minutes, starting whenever you get off mute. Anybody interested in saying anything? Okay. Oh, no, I see like shifting around, but
Okay.
no, Victoria,
Yeah.
we're good, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Hearing none, I would like to take a motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel, contracts, and advice of counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you all so much. Please join us via Zoom for our work session next Tuesday, June 2nd. Enjoy the last week of May. It's supposed to be pretty warm this week, so make sure that you do get outside and enjoy the fresh air, and of course wear your mask, social distance, and all the things that we need to do to make sure that we keep that spread at bay and keep all of us healthy. Have a great week, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.